Hey guys, how y'all doing? I would like to thank y'all for joining me today. And yes, I'm back with a book review. Yes, I finished the book A Heart So Green. This is a series from Lyra Selene, and this is the fourth book on the book club. If you've been keeping up and been reading the books, but this was an amazing story. It was phenomenal. I really enjoyed it, and I'm glad I picked the series to start. I seen that book maybe a few months ago, A Feather So Black, and I picked it up and said, this seems so interesting, because I was reading a lot of mysteries, and I thought maybe a fantasy would be something different, you know, that I could start pursuing, and I'm glad I did it. All the books were absolutely wonderful. They really was. They had so much going on. The main character, her name was Fia, and she basically was this changeling. Yes, if y'all been keeping up with the series and with my book reviews, she was a changeling that was switched at when she was a little girl, and she was taken to a queen, a human queen in the human realm, but she was actually from the folk realm. Her mother was a gentry woman. Her name was Deirdre, and she was like the treasure of the set of the antlers, or yeah, that's what it was. And so, you know, she the queen and the king, the human queen and king, they knew about this treasure, this power that the folk people had, and they wanted it. You know what I'm saying? So she sent her king, the husband, over to the folk realm to steal one of these people so they can take their treasure and use it for their realm, for the human realm, to make it better. But what happened was the human king fell in love with the gentry woman, and wound up, creating and having a baby, and that was Fia. Yeah, but the husband, they had also these people. It was called the Bardai, I believe. They were after some of the people who held the treasures because they wanted them too. And so they was chasing Fia mother and the human king. Her mom name was Deirdre, and they wound up catching up with them on this mountainside, and they wound up killing the human king, and she wound up falling to her death. She thought, but no, it was powers greater than what she was, who actually these treasures come from, and they wind up telling her, no, it's not your time, and wind up building her back up. They told her, you got a life in you that needs to come out, and that life was actually fear. Yeah, but she had told them, I don't want this treasure anymore. I want to live without it. And so they said, well, that's going to be a great cause for if we do that for you. And she was like, she didn't care. She said how she wanted it, but the last thing she was thinking was that they would take her daughter for it. So when she had her daughter, they came for her daughter and was like, "Yeah, this is the cost of what you wanted." And so she was just like, "No, she couldn't change her mind because it was a done deal." So they wound up taking Fia and letting the forest raise her. Yeah, they let the forest raise her. So, and after a while, I think she was about 3 or 4 years old. They wound up taking her to the actual human queen, who was the wife of her father, the human king. But she didn't know none of that. She wound up learning all that because she was unconscious. In this book right here, Heart So Green, she was unconscious for the first part because she had bonded herself in a crown so silver to some kind of entity. And she was running from this entity. This entity was trying to take over her. And she didn't want that. So she was in her mind like in a dream state, running from this entity, and she was different people was coming to her in this dream state and teaching her things, showing her who she was and how she was raised and things like that, because she didn't know, and told her who her mother was, and she met her father and things like that. She even learned how to unbind herself with this entity. So when she wake up, this is in part two, what I'm saying? She's now the whole time that she was under, in this dream state, Arian, her lover, her husband, he's been carrying her body, and they've been traveling across the realm to where Lois lived. Lois had these caverns in this mountain, and she told them y'all be safe there because I'm sure because they was running from Allah because Allah became the queen of the dead. Yes, they was calling her the rotten princess, y'all. Yes, so they was running from her because basically she was trying to take over both realms. And so they was trying to, run. They was running from her, and they was trying to take Fia to somewhere safe until she woke up. And so Aaron carried her body across that realm and everything. He really truly loved this woman, Fia, and the way he spoke about her, the way he cared for her, it was just, it was it was beautiful. You know what I'm saying? I'm like saying to myself, "Ooh, I gotta find me a love like this." I mean, he really did love her, but it was her. It was Lois, Arian, Waylon, Sneed, and Baylor. They was from from the Crown So Silver, and they was also in Heart So Green, and basically they was traveling across the realm to get to Lois Cavern, where she had these draglings, like these little dragons that she hatched and raised. They like her babies, and her brother also Idris was there at the caverns. So they get there and they was basically planning what they're gonna do to save the two realms, the human realm and the folk realm, because Isla's ready to take it over with her Walking Dead and everything, and she's just looking for power. She wants power. So, but Fear winds up waking up, and like I said, she learned how to take to unbind herself with this entity. So what she did was she bonded the entity to Lois's cavern. There was something inside her cavern that she bonded the entity to and to her draglings, and this entity wound up destroying her cavern. Like, yeah, Phil was doing the most because she back in the Council Silver she destroyed Gavita's island. Now she done destroyed in the Hearts of Green. She done destroyed Lois's cavern. Lois was thrilled with Fia. She was like, "Why? Who told you to do that? Who told you to bind that entity to my cavern and to my dragonlance?" And look, she done destroyed it. That thing destroyed everything I built. Because she built a beautiful home in this cavern. In this mountain. The way they described it and everything. They had libraries. She had the kitchen. She had a vegetable garden, like on everything, that she's been building for years and years. Her and her brother, and and what I liked about this, they went back and they let you know about each character, about their history and things like that. It was a great read. It really was. It was a lot going on, but it was a good thing. I'm glad I chose to read this. I just picked this book up. That black it was a feather so black one day, and hey, and it led me here to A Heart So Green. It's a series, guys, and you definitely need to check it out. A lot went on this, and it was and this exceptional story. I mean, everything that went on. It got romance, love. War. It's funny. Had me laughing. Yeah, but it was a great. It was. I'm really happy I chose this. Yeah, and in the end, Fia, she had to come up. She came up with a great plan to take her sister down. Because her sister was killing people, and rising them up so they could be like her puppets. And so what happened was, she killed her mom. And everything, and she had Rogan under a spell, and Fia came up with a great plan. But what happened was her plan involved with her shutting down the gates. Yes, shutting down the gates. So what happened was during the war, her and Isla was together, and for her to do what she needed to do, she had to be with Isla. But she told the rest of her friends that she called her family now that they needed to go back over to the folk realm when this happens, and they needed to forge their treasures and things like that. But And what happened was the gates had shut down and was destroyed, and no one could open them again. So Isla was stuck over into the human realm, and her love, her life, Arian, and all her friends was in the folk realm. So what she did was she told Waylon before, because she thought that would happen. So what she did was she thought about that, and she told Waylon to forge some kind of jewelry where she'd be able to bend the realms, and maybe find her way back, and he did that for her and whatever, and but in the end, like I said, her and Baylor was stuck in the human realm, and everybody else from their team was in the folk realm, and she was just trying to figure out, will this work? Can I really see if I can get back to the realm? Because she wanted to get back to Arian, like that was the love of her life. They was like in deeply in love, and it was just so beautiful, their romance and love, and the way he spoke about her, and the way he said, "I will never let you go." I'm like, yeah, and Waylon, he was funny. He had something going on with Idris. Girl, yes. It was a lot going on here. It was, yes, it was spicy, guys. It was very spicy. And drama. Yes. So, but yeah, but she wound up going back. It was finding her way back to the other room. But what happened was the things that they had when they forged when they gave up these treasures and did what they did, he lost his memory, Arian. So he lost any memory of her. He didn't know who she was, or don't he didn't remember her. Waylon lost his lover didn't still knew him, but didn't know nothing about their romance. You know what I'm saying? And Lois lost her draglings. You know what I'm saying? So they by them doing what they did and saying that they wanted that treasure off them, they lost things. They had to it was like a price they had to pay, and so his price was Arian's price was Fia. He lost Fia. He lost all memory of her and everything, and so when she finally gets over there, this is at the end, and because she said she was going back to her love, she was gonna find a way back to him, but when she got over there, he didn't remember her though, but she was talking to him, and he was like, "Who are you? What you doing here? You smell of human." And he was just like, "Well, I'm kind of lost." He was like, "Yeah, are you lost or you just want to be found?" And she was like, "Well, I got a bottle of blackberry wine and 2 cups, and I would like to tell you a story if you can." He was like, "Well, you know what I'm saying?" Because he don't remember her, but she remembers everything. And that's how it ended. Them having a cup of wine and she telling him a story. But everything in between, I'm telling you guys, this was absolutely fabulous book. Yes, it was. Yeah, I was kind of sad that the sequel was ending and then it was coming to an end, but this was the last one of a 3-book series. Yes, it was A Feather So Black, A Crown So Silver, and A Heart So Green by Lyra Selene. And I'm gonna give this story. I'll give it 5 stars, guys. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, so I'm gonna look for another fantasy maybe I can read if it's a series or a book. But I'm gonna come to y'all with it, and that's gonna be our 5th book in the book club. And I hope you're enjoying all the books that I'm bringing for us and for the book club. I hope you're enjoying them. And I want to say thanks for joining me and being here. And remember to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Yes. And love you.